This week, we talk about the dreaded sticky season. Last week was Halloween, and this week is something equally as scary, sick kids at home. We'll get advice from each other, what we're supposed to experts say, and more because it's three of us and all of you.
I'm Mike Light.
I'm Sara D.
And I'm Mike Levine.
Kids don't come with a handbook, so we need your help.
Where do babies come from?
Where do you think they come from?
Is this a kissing book?
Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
I learned it by watching you. There are no rules in this house. Not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
We sent them to the best boarding schools. We hired the best nannies. We did everything right.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
This is Hey Other Parents, an honest, messy, imperfect show for raising kids.
Hey, welcome back. It's us again.
It's us again. Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
what's up?
We're back. We're back
It's good
again.
to be here.
I love
So
it.
glad that you guys are here to hang out with us. As we all know, school has started, and so has the joy of spreading and sharing germs.
Oh, yeah. The worst.
It's getting the best of us already, isn't it?
It's a good time. Let me tell you. In the Deserene's household, we have already had the sniffles, the coughs, the headaches. So other week, Sophia was homesick with a sore throat and like a random little tummy ache. And now that she's a teen, when I'm at work, I get the pleasure of a bunch of texts from her. Like anything from like, I'm hungry, I'm dying. And I'm like, really? Like, chick, I'm working right now. Really?
Wait, so hold on a second. Now, your daughter's like, she's like a big kid. She's not just like, she's a ninth grader, right?
Yeah, no,
So
she's
like,
in ninth
what are
grade.
you, like, you're not home and she's probably like, I want something good. Does she like do like Uber Eats or something? Like, how does she get food?
Oh my God. So, of course, when she's sick, and maybe I set up some bad habits when she was little, she needs like something like good to feed her soul when you're sick. So it's always the Uber Eats. It's always the DoorDash.
Oh my God. So she like
Oh,
full
yeah.
out has access to her awesome parents' accounts to order these things.
Oh God, yes. And then on top of that, because I used to order it for her, but maybe by the time I saw her text, when I was available, it might be like an hour or two later. I'm like, oops, the kid's starved. So now she has access to everything. And there are times I'm like, there's pizza bagels in the fridge, there's Dino Nugs. And she's like, no. I'm like, Wingstop. And she's like, ah. She's like, I like how that sounds. I'm like, of course you do.
Oh, I guess you must be
Of
feeling
course you
better.
do. I'm like,
Is it
all
a
right.
perk? Is it a perk having an older kid sick at home, or is it not a perk? Because, when they're home, now it's like, oh, your credit card's racking up because they're ordering Uber Eats.
Exactly. It's great that they're home because depending on the illness, you can like little sniffles, you can keep them home, and just keep tabs on them. But then, then all of a sudden like, it gets expensive and you're like just racking up a bill, like you said. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, can we slow down on that?
I'm trying to figure out how reverse this is. Like all of a sudden she's home, she's ordering snacks, you're eating your regular lunch. You're like, oh wait, Sophia, hold on a second. Where are you ordering from? Oh, could you please order me some of that too?
I know. Meanwhile, eating like my peanut butter and jelly, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had Wingstop or something good like that.
Is it that time of the year when one gets sick, they all get sick? Like, is it that whole thing where like you rub everybody's face in each other's face when,
Oh,
when
God.
one person's sick because
I try
and
to
they're all
isolate
eventually
as
gonna
much
get
as we
sick,
can.
right?
To have them sick one on top of the other is like dreadful. And if we could prevent some of it, we're good to go,
Oh yeah. When I get one sick, it's like you struggle with, hey, you know what? Should I mix these kids up and kind of get them all sick, or
Wow, you're like,
Do I
might as well.
separate
Everybody's
them?
going down right now.
I know. We might as well.
Come on! Like, that's that thing. And then they all want to stay home from school. And then you're like, I got stuff to do. You got to go to school, man.
Yes.
I don't know.
What do you pass around that one lollipop from the other show where you like dropped on the floor of the deli department? Like, here, everybody take a look at this.
Well, you know what? That's a great question. We're going to address that probably at some point of the show. So like at this week, we're going to talk about getting a fever and being homesick and stuff like that. Do we do the Mike Levine share one lollipop for everyone and all get sick at once, or do we try to isolate? Let's figure this out together. All right, guys. So like how when you were younger, I don't know about you, but I definitely pulled some shenanigans. So one of my favorite
Shocking.
memories, I know, seriously. One of my favorite memories. Do you remember those mercury thermometers?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the glass and you had to shake them? So for those who might be a little younger than us, there was like these glass thermometers and they had like this silver liquid metal that you should not touch. So anyhow, so young Sara D, there she was, trying not to go to school. And I usually would hold up the thermometer because it had to be like at least like over 100 to stay home. So
Like
I put the
200 might have been a little high.
Yeah, 200 was like 200 was like, ooh, that was risky, but I didn't know why. So I used to put the thermometer by the light bulb. Did anyone do this? Like to make it get hotter?
Oh,
So much smarter than I was.
That was like the number one move, man.
Yes. And then you slowly watched it like go up. So I remember one time though, I
Burn your
couldn't
tongue.
get to So I couldn't get to the light bulb, and my mom had given me like chamomile tea. So I took the thermometer and I put in my scalding hot tea, and I swirled it around a little bit, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." And all suddenly, the thermometer burst.
Oh no!
And the mercury was now in my tea, and I knew, I don't know why. I think my mom explained to me like mercury is poisonous, but I just knew that I should not drink this tea. So I put the thermometer down, and my mom was like, "Wait, how did the thermometer break?" I'm like, I don't know how it broke.
It was like the T3000. It made its way out of your thermometer into your
Listen,
tea.
all I know, I didn't get in trouble. She was very worried about me drinking this tea, and if I drank the tea, if I touched the tea or didn't. I think like now reflecting back as a mom, I would be more concerned about that mercury getting to my body, my kid's body, but before, you know, like how did it all happen? You know what I mean? Like it was like biohazard material.
So you got a nice combination. You got like broken glass. You got mercury floating around there, and you got this moment of fear where you're about to be found out.
I would say she's kind of sick.
So I think I stayed home that day because my mom was just like, whatever.
Exactly.
She probably was like, let me just check her out for mercury poisoning, you know?
Let me just observe her for a day to make sure she's okay.
Just to make sure she's okay. It was a good day. I stayed home. But, you know, don't do that, kids.
No, because I swear, I feel like maybe I'm either too innocent or too shielded from everything when I was that young, but someone said that it was something with like putting a penny in your mouth with it. Do you remember this? Does anybody remember this penny thing?
You put a penny in your mouth?
I mean, now that you say that loud, all pennies look so dirty. But no, I don't have one in my mouth now. No, I'm good. Thank you so much. But no, I think it was something where like there was a belief that the penny somehow would raise the temperature. When you say it out loud now, when I say it out loud now, it sounds completely asinine. I don't think that is even, I mean, the Sara approach seems a lot better. Maybe the light bulb over the hot tea, but either way, broken glass and mercury and pennies, maybe perhaps were not the way to go. Mike, what did you do?
I mean, I was the opposite. I was like the goody two shoes that always wanted to go to school. You know, I was in search for that perfect attendance award.
You're such a good kid. I love that.
Oh, man.
I know.
Swear, I mean, listeners, I know that you can't see us right now, but Sara and I are sitting here staring at Mike. We were like, I think both of us had our fingers crossed that Mike was going to hold up the perfect attendance award from like 20 years ago. Yeah. He doesn't have it. It's sad.
You know, I never got it too. I did. I never got it.
You never got
tried.
it?
Yeah.
It sounds like you really put the effort in.
Aww.
I did put in the effort. And, you know, my mom also, she like made me go to school. Like she was that type of mom that was like, are you dying? No. Oh, okay, great. You're going to school. You know?
Well, I remember like, you know, you put the thermometer in your mouth and like, there's that moment where like, I must have just been ignorant. I don't know. I would just hope that it would go up on its own, like majestically, but it didn't do that, obviously, if I wasn't sick. But either way, there was that moment where like you would, you'd be huffing in like the leftover smell of the last time someone cleaned it with alcohol. And you would like almost cross your eyes trying to like stare down at the number. You can't even read it while it's going up.
Yes.
And then it all of a sudden it slows down. It goes like 95, 95.5, 96,
like,
96.1, 6.2. What is this? What is happening? And then it doesn't really go up any faster. It starts to slow down dramatically. And then somehow you just keep hoping for a miracle. Where like it's going to go from 98.6 to like 100.2. But obviously that doesn't happen on its own.
No, it never did. Yeah, like but same thing, Mike Levine. Like with my mom, like unless like I was bleeding, a bone was popping out, or whatever, I was going to school. no matter what.
Yeah.
Yo, my mom was
Yeah.
like, "Did you throw up?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, if I legitimately threw up if I didn't feel well. My mom was like, "You threw up? Well, you're probably better now. Go to school." Like, I don't know. Is this like a thing? I don't know, man. The school of hard knocks. I don't know. Maybe things
Yeah,
are
but-
different then.
You see, when you went to school, though, that's when you escaped to the nurse's office. Just because there was nothing like, I don't know about you, laying down on those nurses' cots.
I feel like I was like the twisted ankle kid. I don't know, but I remember. Do you remember like laying down on the like the cool like fake leather material? And your face would be like stuck to it, and then like they give you like the ice pack,
Yeah.
and then like some other
pleather,
kid
the
would walk
pleather.
in, and you'd like stare at him and be like, "Hey, what are you in for?"
What are you in it for, right? And then I don't know about you, but like my nurses, they always gave us magic water or magic ice, and that always cured everything. You're like, oh man, something hurt in my eye. Here's some ice. Oh man, I'm about to throw up. Here's some water. And you're like, all right, I guess it just cures everything.
Well, the nurse
Huh.
gave it to him. Must be good now.
Must be good. I don't know.
Or if your parents played ping pong with you, where like you would go down and then like you maybe you didn't feel well, but you like could maybe get through the rest of the day. Who knows, right? So then they call your parents, call your mom, and be like, "She can't get here for a while. She wants you to go back to class," and you're like,
Right.
"Oh, well, this is a card I didn't think she was going to play."
You're like,
Touche,
she
ma.
can't-
Touche.
wow. All
I
right.
see you won't pick me up, but I raise you one.
My mom would put on some Maury.
Ooh.
And we would watch Maury. We watched
are
Jerry
not the
Springer. Yes. Oh my God. The best. Or like, my teen is sassy, and you're like, ooh, she's bad. Okay.
Ooh,
I
she's
like
bad.
it.
She's not like me. I'm homesick legitimately.
Yes. Like, oh, she's a bad one, huh? And then we watched like People's Court or some telenovela that she had going on that she would secretly watch. And
so
I was
funny.
Like, I would just watch and sit with her. I'm like, ooh, what are they saying? But it's very salacious. Did you guys enjoy any shows when you were home?
It was like Ed Koch was on like the People's Court, right? It was like old school. This is
Ed
before
Koch.
Judge Judy,
Oh,
right? It
wow.
was like,
Yes.
yeah, this is old stuff. But people would come in and be like, the neighbor, like, hit the dog or some craziness, and then somebody hit their car. I don't know, whatever happened. It was always these small, like under $1,000 things, which when you were a kid, you had no idea what the deal was, but you were like, oh, this seems like a big deal. Are the police gonna come get them? No, never police would show up. Somebody would swing a hammer, throw some money at them. They would like yell at people from stop talking over somebody else, and then they'd hand over a check, and then they have those interviews afterwards. I used to love that. But the Montel, what about Montel Williams? Remember that?
Oh my God,
Oh,
Montel Williams is the
yes.
best.
Montel.
Yes, that was good.
Especially when he had like Sylvia Brown, the psychic, on. That was
Yes.
super. Like, I love that. I was like totally into it. Ghost. I loved it. I was
Yes.
there.
Sally
I know,
Jessie
it was-
Raphael, right? That's you.
Oh, Jenny Jones.
Oh my God, Jenny Jones.
Jenny Joe.
Do you remember her?
See,
Oh
like
my God.
people at home, you got to remember, like obviously if you're our age, you get it, but like we didn't. There's no DVR. Like whatever was on was on. So like there was no cartoons until 3:00. You got whatever you got. It was either that or it was like go to like Nickelodeon and you would get like black and white TV from like our parents' time. So like you'd watch like Lassie would be on, right? Remember that?
Yes.
Dude,
and
I was
then-
like 8 years old and I got into like the Patty Duke show. I don't know what it's that was like old school stuff.
Mr. Ed, and then what was the not Leave It to Beaver?
A horse is a horse, of course.
A horse, of course, the horse doesn't talk. I don't know, something I forget. Hi, I'm Mr. Ed.
I know, it's like the whole show revolves around a horse that can talk. Like now you tell it to a kid, they'd be like, yeah, but the Paw Patrol, there's like 8 dogs that talk. Why is that a problem?
Because there were like nighttime black and white shows and then like daytime black and white shows. Do you guys remember
right.
that?
I see
The
what you're saying, yeah.
differentiation?
Oh, and like Bewitched. I remember watching a lot of Bewitched.
Oh, but I think that was nighttime.
Oh, was it?
Bewitched. Yes.
One of them was on. Yeah, but there were 2 of them. Weren't there 2 of them? Am I crazy? Wasn't like one of them? Or I feel like there were 2 witch shows. This is why you always check your notes before you go on a podcast. But I think it was like one where like one of them would like put her arms over their arms, like wiggle her nose or something, and then the other one
Bewitched.
that was Bewitched, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to look at this now, but at some point I'm telling you this too. Very similar shows that existed at this time period. Bing. Hi, this is Michael Hyde from the future. After doing some editing, we realized that it was Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. It turns out there were 2 shows, not witch shows, 1 genie and 1 witch. Okay, back to the episode. Bing. And then there was also Gilligan's
witches?
Island. Remember that?
Gilligan's Island. I didn't really know what was going on Gilligan's Island.
Nobody knew
I
what was going on
watched-
Gilligan's Island.
I watched it, but I didn't understand it. Do you like MASH?
Like, what is wrong with it? Was like Lost. It was like before Lost came out, and they were like, this is highly feasible. And then the people probably grew up watching Gilligan's Island. They're like, we've got to change this. We need like the Dharma Initiative. We need to have a penguin, or like a polar bear. But that show is insane. But Lost is really good. Yeah, that'll be for another time.
What do you think our kids watch?
Oh man, I mean, I could tell you. I remember there was this one time that, I mean, good Lord. One time we had the flu floating around our house, and it was not good. It was like one of those situations where we didn't follow Mike Levine's advice. We didn't all share one drink. So it was on a rotation. So I'm trying to remember. I think Ethan got sick, and then you know how when they're young they kind of like bounce back super fast. Just like us. So so he's sitting there getting better, and he's on the couch, and he's at that age where he needs me to put on like the next show. So like we're watching like just going right through like every single episode of The Lion Guard, and then every single episode of Jake and the Neverland Pirates. But he's sick of watching the first 4 minutes. Like, God forbid he would watch the introduction to the show, because that'd be crazy. So he kept waking me up. I'm like day one of the flu, could barely open my eyes. And he's like, Dad, skip the intro. Fast forward this part. So like, since the shows are like 12 and a half minutes long, every 10 minutes I'd be woken up to put on the next part. No. But I sort of kind of watched it in a fever dream together.
For you.
Exactly. So somewhere in a fever dream, I watched a mixture of like Jake and the Neverland Pirates and The Lion Guard. But yeah,
okay,
no, man.
So did you guys try like any like, was there any remedies that your mom or dad used to do for you like back in the day? Like any like old wives' tales that you guys tried out?
Well, for me, my mom always just made her soup. Like, I don't know what she threw in it. It was all these different, seasonings, all these Hispanic seasonings, which were like amazing and made it taste great. But I don't know what it did, but it always cured me, or it felt like it cured me. I think it's just that blanket, that safety blanket, so to speak, and it just made me feel, it always made me feel great.
Do you remember like any like any vegetables or like meat? Like what did she put in it? Do you remember?
It was just like a basic chicken noodle soup, but she would always put in, but again, the Spanish seasonings that she threw in, which I keep asking her for, and she always tells me, she always tells me something different, right? And I'm like, Mom, I really need to learn this, and I think I've figured it out, but I'm still kind of working a couple of things out, but I think I'm almost there, because I make it for my family too, and it's great. I make like this big pot, and we save it and we freeze it for the week or whatever. But it's funny because I make this soup and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is gonna repair all. It's gonna make everybody feel good, just like it did when I was a kid, right? And then I go to give my son the soup or my daughter the soup, and they'll be like, "Oh, Dad, you got Campbell's?"
Like Garcon.
Yes.
Garcon.
Oh God. They're like, oh no, I see like some veggies floating around. Doesn't seem good.
Yeah, and my heart just like drops, right? Like, are you kidding me? This is fresh, natural ingredients, all great tasting, good for you soup, and you want salt in a can. Apocalypse soup.
Well, I mean, like, doing the whole thing with chicken soup, I feel like we have a similar situation. Yeah. But I do that kind of thing where, but it's like the same thing for like the holidays, but I just leave it the matzo balls. But occasionally, when the kiddies are feeling like, see, this is different, right? So there's like the stomach problem situation, right? But then you have also the non-stomach problem. So if the kids are just homesick with like the runny nose and feel good, whatever else, little fever. Do you remember Pastina? You ever Pastina? That's like the Italian little
Pastina.
Stars.
The little stars.
Those are, oh my God. And they almost got discontinued for a while. Like one of the companies stopped making them, but but one of them just does, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But my mom and my grandma used to make it where this is probably so different than everybody else's. I'm going to get like, send your mail to Mike Levine at heyotherparents@gmail.com. So like when my mom and my grandma used to make it, they used to make it with like, I think they used to either boil it in milk or they cooked it in like a little bit of water, try to drain it out like with the lid, and then put it in milk, butter, salt, and pepper. And it is, it sounds wacky, but it's so comforting. It's almost like porridge. But porridge, the three little bears. But no, it's really good. It's like so like it's got that like almost that like creaminess, like that macaroni and cheese happiness, but like sort of like grits thing going on, like the butter, salt, and pepper. It's really good. Really good.
My knee-jerk reaction would be like, ew, milk. But
Yeah, why would you put milk in that? Yeah, but it's good.
But then I'm thinking Alfredo sauce. I'm thinking like, so I guess
make
there's
it all
something
creamy.
going on there. Yeah, make it creamy, right.
But like if
Porridge,
you got the stomach situation, like see, that's different. That's like I remember like these memories, like cold sweats, thinking of my mom handing me ginger ale and pretzels. Ginger ale, pretzels. And like I think the ginger ale or like a glass of Coke was kind of like a litmus test to see if your body could handle anything. So like you pour that down the gullet, and then if everything stayed down, then it was party on, right? That was like
then you like elevate to like I'm sure the pretzels or toast or something like that.
Right, but that was the thing. Isn't that crazy that you would go from like the ginger ale or Coke and like pretzels, and then you go to toast and jelly or something like that? Didn't that feel like you slightly went out of order? Like maybe ginger ale might have been a little harder in your stomach than the.
I think so. I don't know. Like Mike Levine, maybe because you have, no offense, Michael Height, but the Latina background. My mom used to boil the Coca-Cola, and we would sip it. No.
What?
No.
Wait. Let's just hold on a second. Let's break this down. Let's get a deep dive into Sara D.
So I thought you were my Latina sister. What happened?
My mom's Ecuadorian, so I guess it's a different side. But she used to take the Coca-Cola, and I'd be like excited when I saw that. Like, yes, Coke. And then she'd boil it, so it'd be flat and hot, and it felt so good, like going down your throat.
Wow, did it work?
I don't know. I guess it did. Perhaps, I don't know. I mean, like, okay. All right, so we did the Coca-Cola. All right, so then,
Am I allowed to jump back in now? I didn't grow up this way.
You sure can. No, and that's totally okay. That's okay, Michael Hype, because, you know.
I'm thinking more Mary Poppins. It sounds like Mary Poppins, like spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
You know what?
If you weren't going to sing that.
It sure did.
Yeah.
It sure did go down. You're right.
You know, if you weren't going to sing that, we were going to keep sitting here and pretending like we've never heard of Mary Poppins until you did.
No, I love it. I love it. Carmen had so many recipes and ways to fix you up without ever seeing a doctor.
Did you do anything for like strep throat, like without actually taking medicine?
Oh man, so like so strep throat. You know, like everyone has a bubblegum antibiotic. I love when my kids get strep throat because it's like, yes, you sick, you hurt, you're gonna get this antibiotic and it's gonna cure you within 24 hours. Basically, you're gonna feel better, but you're contagious, so you can't go to school, whatever. But my mom used to cut up radishes, and she would put sugar on it, and maybe like a little bit of water. She covered it up with like clear, like cellophane, like clear plastic, and she put it on the windowsill at night, so the moon rays would get on it, and the energy and the healing properties of the moon would get on the radishes.
I'm so glad you're here right now, Sara D. Wow. It doesn't sound like, I might have gotten a little dicey there for a hot second.
Wow.
And then in the morning, it was delicious. It really was so sweet and syrupy and yummy and so moonfully medicine that we used to take. It was great. Let me tell you. No? Anyone?
Wow.
No one?
Okay, I'm literally on the internet right now looking at moon radishes.
No one's mom made radishes for the moon.
You know what's funny? I'm really trying to find moon radishes online, and I'm not finding a lot right now.
Dang. Okay.
Oh
So another one to make you guys kind of laugh. Like, so growing up, Carmen, like she was like, like I said,
I would watch that show. By the way, I would watch Growing Up Carmen.
Seriously. I'm intrigued already.
I love my mom, and for all the like natural health people, like my mom was totally hardcore into it. She was the crunchy granola before crunchy granola was popular. So there was another, I forget what the herb is, but it's an herb, and she used to grow it. And then if you had an earache, you would take the little leaf from the herb, put it in some cotton, and you would put it in your ear for the earache. So there I was going to school with cotton and like a plant coming out of my ear. Let me tell you, I didn't have many friends growing up.
I feel bad because like I was about to complain about how like they didn't always have bubblegum flavor for strep throat medicine, and they only had lemon death sometimes. But man,
girl, I would have liked some bubblegum flavored medicine.
You know what's crazy though? Growing up, my sister. I don't blame her because like I get it. Like some kids have a really hard time with like swallowing medicine, or ear plants. But my sister had the situation where she absolutely could not swallow. She couldn't swallow pills. So my parents also like they would give her like liquid, right? So like when you get to a certain point, you graduate from like liquid to pills. But they kept with the liquid. Like as you get older, like the liquid keeps getting more and more and more and more. So she would. Oh, wow. So my parents would give her like, she didn't remember exactly what, like Tussin, some clear stuff. She didn't remember what it was. But they would give her the medicine, and then she would spit it out, or she would spit the pills out or hide them. And then like my parents couldn't figure out like why her fevers were going up. And they go back to the doctor and they'd be like, this medicine's not working. They'd be like, we're pretty sure it works. The problem is she needs to go down her throat. So like my parents did some crazy stuff. They would like take the medicine, whatever the clear one was, and they mix it into like Coke. But I don't really get that. My sister and I were talking about this the other day because like it would make it more. So like I don't really know if diluting it was really the best effort, because then it would be like now you got to drink like 16 ounces of this nastiness. But she would spit it out. It was no bueno. I feel like, but I don't know. Like everybody had some crazy stuff growing up. Like my mom would do this thing with do you remember that Vicks rub? Like you put on your chest and it would like you'd open you up.
A VapoRub.
VapoRub, yeah. So she would put that like right, but she wouldn't like you put it on you, but then she'd put it in like a pot, right? Like she'd take a fingerful and chuck it in the pot with water and then heat it up, right? So now it's like those chemicals are flowing up, and then my mom would take the pan off the heat, like once it's kind of boiling with the stuff in there, and then she would like put a towel over your head to breathe it in. So it was almost like being in like Bikram yoga, where you would like feel like but you would be getting in all this Vic stuff. And I guess somewhere on the label it says you probably shouldn't do that, but I remember that really opening up like your breathing really well, but.
Because you had no choice to do that.
yeah. Like, Mom, sounds good. Let's do this. Yeah, that's true.
Your air passages were like, help me.
Get back under the towel.
That's hysterical. I mean, I remember being bathed in like VapoRub. Like it'd be like on your sinuses, on your chest, on your back. It would be on your feet with socks. Like it'd be like everywhere.
You know what's funny? Because like the feet thing. Like I thought always like this doesn't make any sense. Like why are you putting this anywhere besides where you breathe? But apparently it helps with the blood flow. And that's why they do it, because I thought like that was insane. Like let's just wait. Maybe like on the package you're like put it everywhere so you can waste it and buy more. But apparently that helps with the blood flow. That's why people put it on their feet and stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a like belief in reflexology, like where your feet correspond to like different parts of your body.
Where Luna spends her shines down on your
so
radishes.
The moon rays, and then I had onions and VapoRub, double header on my feet. Double header. I was like a salad by the time when I was sick.
I was gonna say your grocery bill is like
the moon
before there was modern medicine, there was your childhood. I love this.
There was my childhood. I was surviving Carmen. Let me tell you. I'm here though. I'm here. I'm 40 years old. I'm relatively in good health. So I made it, Mom. I made it.
You made it.
Guys, I got to bring some shame upon myself. I don't know if you were there. Since we're talking about childhood, it can't all be moon gods. Do you remember my mom would send me to school with a handkerchief. Now, let me ask you a question. The handkerchief situation. Now, I always thought like handkerchiefs were, now that I'm older, I could see a handkerchief being nice for like, a suit jacket, something nice, like a little... Yeah. But not for blowing boogers into when you're younger. Like that is just like the nastiest thing. I remember having this thing in my pocket. Like Mom would like throw 2 handkerchiefs in my pocket, and it was like you know how it is. The first day of a cold, second day of a cold, like it's disaster. Everything's happening.
It's
so
just
remember
wet at that point.
with a handkerchief, that's just like it's nasty, man. Yeah, I guess it's shocking. We don't send our kids to school with handkerchiefs anymore.
No. I do prefer paper towel though. Sometimes I have to say they're a little
just
sturdier.
Get it all.
Just get it all in there.
It leaves the sides of your nose kind of red though.
whatever, like it just handles the boogies.
You're like, you can't handle it? You can't handle it? Come on.
No.
Sarah, I want to know if you put onions to the moon gods now for your kids.
I get the proper medication for
Get
them.
antibiotics.
Let me get some antibiotics, because there's a crazy medicine now out there, like penicillin. I'll cure most things.
Oh, man.
But the only thing I really, truly probably carry over every once in a while, like I am a barefoot kind of person, very boho chic. And, and because the purpose of that is that, like, when you supposedly walk on the ground, you're grounded to the earth, and like, all these things happen to that. So like, I let my kids walk barefoot. I know, like, my husband, who's Caribbean, his family hates it, and then some Latinos hate the idea as well. But growing up Carmen, you walk around barefoot to connect to the earth, and like, stuff happens. So
I feel like there needs to be like a theme song for Growing Up Carmen. This is
Growing
amazing.
Up Carmen. So I let them, like growing up abuela, they like walk around on the grass, like, barefoot every once in a while, just to connect with the nature and stuff like that.
I love that, because you're talking to the guy that, like, if given the choice between, the nice weather and you look out of the beach, I think I'd rather go into a pool. So, like,
I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
oh, look at that. What a group we are. This is
Do
amazing.
you both hate sand? I love sand. Sand's great. You gotta connect. You do have to connect
You
to
know
the
what?
earth, guys.
Mike's going to watch
Get
you from
in
his
that
hot tub,
water,
and I'm going to
swim
watch you from the
around.
pool. We'll be in two different spots.
But like, I don't know about you guys, but like, do you go to the doctors right away with your kids as like first sign of sniffle, or do you wait like a couple of days?
Oh man, this is funny, because this is a great conversation point, because I feel like when we had one child, when it was early on, it was like if you had a magic 8 ball and you could predict a sniffle, we'd be like out the door, like, yeah, we're going. Let's go to the doctor now. We got to call them. This is an emergency.
Yeah.
They're closing in an hour. Let's get down there. And now you're like, I don't know. Like, what do we do here? Like, this is like,
Yes.
Is it too early? Is it going to get picked up? What happens if we like? What do we do here? Do we should we wait till tomorrow? Like, what if we go too early? They're going to have to go back a second time. Do you feel like this? Is this kind of like what happens as your kids get older? You have more than one kid.
I'll tell you a funny story. The other night, my youngest daughter, she's walking around drinking her milk, and she's doing her thing. And all of a sudden, she starts like grabbing her tummy, and she's like, "Daddy, mommy, tummy." And I'm like, "Oh no!"
God,
So we're like, "It's okay. Stop drinking the milk." We take the milk from her. All of a sudden, we're helping the other kids get ready, and all of a sudden, projectile spraying everywhere. My wife, like super mom, jumps in, grabs her dress out of the way. We look at each other, we're like, I don't think she's sick. I don't think she's sick.
I like it. Denial phase. I go through that too. Denial
man.
phase. Okay. Yep.
But sure enough, she wasn't sick. She just, I don't know, the way I think she mixed like milk with pizza or something. And as soon as she got it out of her system, she was good. But, normally we would be like, no, not going anywhere.
Check for a fever,
Taking
all
her
that
to
good
the
stuff.
doctor,
Yeah.
Check for a fever, all the stuff.
Yep.
But, we looked, she was fine. She looked like she was, 100% after she got it out of her system. And
how were you then
thing.
at that moment?
And sure enough, we were right. She has no fever. She has nothing.
Yes.
A couple days later, she's still good. So,
Don't you feel validated when that happens? You're like, something she ate. That's it.
Yeah.
You want to hear something ridiculous? So check this out. So when Jacob was younger, it was coincidental, but so he ate some food, and he starts breaking out in this rash. Like, we're looking at him like, oh my God, what is happening right now? And he just and we're like thinking back on the food. We're like, what did he eat? Did he eat like anything crazy? Yep. And we were like, he had vegetable oil. He had like corn oil. Maybe he's allergic to corn. So we were all nervous. We're like, oh, what do we do? We call the doctor. We're trying to get a hold of like this allergy doctor. And he's on the phone.
And Jacob is your first.
He's our first.
So
Thank you.
So how old is he?
He was really young. I think he was like was he like 2? He was really young.
Okay.
He was like maybe
so
under
this
3.
You guys were all
this was pretty early on. So he called the doctor, and unfortunately, they made an appointment with us instead of just letting us know. So, like a week goes by, like not a week, but it was a few days. And I, calling the Chinese restaurant. I'm like, we're supposed to meet my parents to eat dinner. And I'm like, well, what kind of oil do you cook in? Because that's normal to call people up and ask them for oil. And they're like, we cook it like a mixture of soy oil and corn oil. I'm like, can't eat there. They have corn oil. So we go to the allergy doctor. He sits us down and he's like, okay, so no one in the history of the entire world has been allergic to corn. You guys are good. Turns out it was a heat rash. So this is a thing that could happen when your kid has a fever for like a week or so. Then they could, from a high fever, sometimes they break out like in a splotchy kind of rash, then it goes away. But as new parents, like we had no idea. And it turned out that it was nothing, but we were so convinced that it was like food related that it was like, that it was ended up being something of the sorts. But obviously now it seems so ridiculous. But when you're starting out, you have no idea, you don't even know these things. But there's like roseola and some of these things where like the fever could kind of induce like some sort of body response. But it's crazy, man. Like when those early days when you're having kids, like, man, nobody knows what's going on.
No one knows.
And that's what's frustrating too, because like, the body has these responses. So you're like, okay, the body's freaking out. Let me take my child to the doctor, right? Then you take your child to the doctor and the doctors are like, oh, there's nothing you could do. You just got to wait it out or take Motrin or something or maybe Tylenol or whatever. Right?
Listen, I'm not hating on that because honestly, like sometimes like you send your kid, like you go to the doctors right away, especially like mine are older. They'll like verbalize like this hurts, that hurts. They'll be very specific. And, listen, you go to the doctors, they tell you drink some water, take the Motrin, and it's a virus. Nothing's going to happen. And every once in a while, I get validation because my kids, did you guys know with strep-throat, it doesn't always start off with like your throat hurting.
Yeah, this was nuts. I've never heard of this until you told me this.
So both my kids, so parent hack or parent advice is that both my kids, their strep throat never shows up in their throat first. It doesn't hurt. They don't get a runny nose. They get a belly ache. And one time we had bedwetting because of strep throat. And it can show up as that. So anytime your kids have a bellyache or bedwetting and they've been potty trained and no accidents and things like that, it doesn't hurt to say, hey, can you check for some strep throat or something like that? Because it didn't show on the rapid, but it showed up on the long-term one. And like, oh, strep throat. And I forgot, I think it was a PA, she told me that, like with the bedwetting. Because I was like, she never wets the bed. Like this never happened before. And she had to be at least like 5 or 6. And they said that's a sign of strep throat sometimes,
But to be clear, it never actually showed in her throat, right? That was kind of the thing.
No, never did. So like the rapid came up negative, and then like a couple, the culture grew and did what its thing, and it was strep throat. Sure enough.
That's so wild, right?
And then she got some bubblegum medicine and not the radishes under the moon.
Not lemon death or moon. Yeah. It's funny because like they say like that high fevers could be scary as possible when your kids are young, but kids get really high fevers and they say like it's really important to really check their body language more so than like the number. Obviously when it's really high, that's a different issue, but watch your body language. If they start to look lethargic, they're kind of acting themselves, then that's a much more of a reason to go back to the doctor's office and let them know what's going on. But if they're playing and they're acting like themselves and they're just silly and you feel them really hot, that's probably okay, and then sometimes some doctors, what they'll do, I know that there's some new things now where they mix together Motrin and acetaminophen together into one pill. But, when the fever is really high, sometimes every 3 hours, you get like on a rotation where you do Motrin and then 3 hours later you do the acetaminophen or Tylenol, and then you kind of go back and forth to kind of keep the fever down. But this crazy things. Obviously, when we were younger, I remember my mom telling me stories of like throwing me in an ice bath and this, that, and the other to kind of bring the fever down. I know, Mike, you had a whole thing with that, didn't you? At one point, with your daughter was like crazy hot.
Yeah, we had a scary situation with my youngest daughter during COVID. We were checking her for a fever, and like the thermometer was coming up 98, but her body was like on fire. Oh, and then at night, my wife woke me up. She's like, my daughter was like, I want to say kind of limp almost, because she just like was barely moving, very lethargic, and she was just so hot, but her head wasn't hot. Her body was just hot. And we brought her over to the bath. We just threw ice cold water on her. We started playing her like music that she loved, and it brought her back, like it woke her up. So, and then we were just really monitoring her because we were really contemplating calling 911, because we were just scared. We didn't know what was going on. And, it was COVID at the time. And that was a whole other situation with separating people, because there were certain times where somebody in the house had it and other people didn't. So you had to separate from one another and, make sure it didn't spread. It was crazy times, and sicknesses can be crazy. And, I would just say, a parent, do what you feel is best for your family.
And you know what's so funny with that? Not that that's funny, but it's funny because when you bring the kid like into a bath, or it could be like 3 a.m. and then the lights are on, they're like, well, I guess it's time to get up now. So how are you doing? You want to sing a song with me? You want to read a book? Is it time to play? And you're like, oh my God, no, it's still the middle of the night. Look outside, like, nah, it's optional. It's crazy how their clock is just could be like, boop, it's off. It doesn't matter. It's time to play. We're up. What are we doing?
Yeah, they just wake up and they're like, let's go. We're ready.
Exactly. Or they've been asleep for like 15 minutes. You're like, is it time to get up yet? Do you not feel this thing called tired? I don't know what that is.
My mom was right. If you weren't bleeding or bones were popping out, you were good to go.
Something else that I think would be some maybe mildly useful advice would be, we did this with our kids, especially when they're really, really young, like still in like the crib mattress. Putting like a little, like not, raising it so that they're like vertical, but putting like a little towel under the end where their head is underneath the mattress, can lift it up like a little bit. This way, kind of if they have like a runny nose, they have a hard time kind of getting rid of that. Or even
I do that now. Still,
yeah.
In my 40 years on Earth, I still raise my chest up.
Yeah, it's good to do, right?
Yeah, you're like sucking on those boogies, and it's not cool.
It's not cool, man. Stuck on the boogies is not cool. That could have been the name of the episode.
It's not. Yeah, that could have been on.
That's it.
So like when so like some like random useful stuff. I don't know. So my wife figures out all this kind of stuff because like preventative maintenance, I guess, because like she's unfortunately when they're really sick, she's the one they grab and like they want her to be in the room with her. Sometimes she's like sleeping on the floor. It's terrible. I feel so bad. But then like there's other times where like once they kind of like are sort of like back to life a little bit, especially with the stomach stuff. Sometimes she'll put like a towel down on the couch. And then on the floor too, and then she'll have like the yuck bucket. You know what I mean? Like you guys are doing this, like you have like the garbage pail. You put the garbage bag in there as a place for the landing in case things don't work out quite right.
Yes, no, I think that's very wise. I've learned, towels everywhere is always helpful for easy cleanups. But the yuck bucket, do you guys have you seen on Instagram or TikTok where people are like, oh, my yuck bucket is also the popcorn bucket?
No, like an aesthetically pleasing yuck bucket?
No, I've seen that before, and I want to yuck everywhere.
Yeah.
No, we don't repurpose it. It's a garbage. Yeah, no, we're not down with that. It has to be a
garbage pail and match certain things.
No, this isn't like Alton Brown where like you can't have like one kitchen tool that only has one purpose. This is without a doubt like that bucket is intended for garbage and for throwing up. That is it.
Oh, Michael, hi. Do you remember when I said when kids were in diapers and they had the tummy troubles going in the opposite direction in the diaper?
Yes.
To unchange them, Mike Levine. I don't know because.
Oh, this is a good one right here.
You might still have a little one in diapers. Take your little one who's having the tummy troubles. It's not his or her fault, and you put them in the bathtub and you unchange the diaper there, because if things let loose. You can wash it all down the toilet. Or
you know what?
I should say.
That's funny because you know what I thought you were gonna say. Obviously, how would you know what? That was ridiculous. I thought what you were gonna say was how like when you change them in the onesie, how like obviously the direction is that you pull it down over them, right? But like. You pulls them up, or you put a shirt on. Obviously, it goes over the body. So, like in the event that things go incredibly south, when you change your child from having a disaster, instead of pulling it up over them and getting everything everywhere, you could just pull everything down over their shoulders and continue the downward path and remove everything that way.
That was a life hack you told me after my kids were out of onesies.
Yeah, I mean,
but the life hack I shared with you was put them in the bathtub.
Oh, and a good life hack it is, my friend.
Is contained, and they just
Hey, I
You
can
just-
still use that.
exactly. There you go, Mike Levine. Have fun.
Dude, stomach viruses, I feel like that's like a whole other episode because stomach viruses, those, like, we talked about, like, Mike was like, let's have like a party where we invite the entire family and neighborhood over to get everybody sick at the same time. So with the stomach viruses, it's crazy because those move through the house like rapid fire. And like, you have got to stop yourself from breathing in anything. So we found that, and we kind of figured this out during COVID and all that, when that was so prevalent and everyone was still masking up, where we still had like a stash of masks. And with the stomach virus, like once we knew a kid had stomach virus, it was like mask up, because it was like that whole thing. Like we would get the bathroom window open, even if it was like winter, because that's usually when stomach viruses were happening. Put the mask on and then treat the kid, because like that seems like that would actually stop the disaster of spreading through the house. Because it was like, man, stomach viruses, I feel like within 12 hours, you're nailing everybody in the house. And it's not pretty when you're trying to take care of your kids and also in the process of not feeling well too. Not a good situation.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely not. We have no clue what we're doing here. I don't know about you.
You know what's funny is so like my kids are so different. I don't know about you guys, but like when our kids are sick, like it's so funny. Like some of them get like really, really mushy. Like Ethan gets totally mush. Noah doesn't know what's going on. He's so young. He's just like, I'm good. We're good. We're all good. It's 3 a.m. Let's all party. But Jacob, I feel so bad. Like Jacob's just a sweet boy. He's so nice. He's a good kid. But like what he'll do is he'll come in a room. He'll stand there and it's like, I don't feel good. And then he's like 6 feet from the toilet. Like he's so close. So close. And then he's like, I don't feel good. And then like, he'll get sick to his stomach, like right there. And I'm like, you could have gotten there. You were so close.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Whereas every kid is so different. It's so wild, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good segue, because like Sophia's different, Julian's different, so
It seems like you kind of have to almost know your kids as they are all different in some ways, right? And like when your kids who are all different, even though they fall from the same tree, even though they're all different, when they don't act like themselves for themselves, like how they're supposed to act individually, then you know something's up.
Absolutely.
You know, that's usually that sign, right?
Yeah. I got the tough kid. I got the kid who knows exactly when she's getting sick, and I have the guy who's dying, but then when you're staying home, all suddenly he's like 100% better, but he may not really be. He might be like running 100 fever, sick, but he's just happy to be home, happy to be snuggling, happy to be here kind of guy, you know?
Yeah.
You know what never fails? I mean, obviously, if there's no temperature, that's one thing. But I feel like, I don't know if you guys are this way, but you put your hand like near their lower back or on their neck. Like that is like a surefire location where fever is.
Yes.
And it's like
That's true.
sometimes like it's very funny because like some, you know, it just depends on like, I don't know, maybe everyone's different. Like my wife, I don't think she like feels it the same. Like for whatever reason, she doesn't notice it. I don't think that she's like just, you know, oblivious. She's very aware of, you know, all this stuff. But for some reason, I'm like, I put my hand in the back of the neck. She's like, okay, miracle worker.
Aww.
Does he have a fever or not? I'm like, yeah, you don't feel that?
You're
And then all of a sudden,
it feels like 100.4, you know?
But like, look, we get it. Every one of you guys at home like that, or like, obviously you're probably in the same boat or further along than we are, or whatever else. But the worst case, and don't feel guilty of this because it happens to all of us. You go to the doctor, you're like, I guess my kid's may has a little fever, something's going on. And then they're like, oh, Mr. or Mrs. Such and such, did you know your child has a double ear infection?
Yep,
And then you're like, you gotta be kidding me. You're like,
oh my
I
God.
guess I'm a terrible human being. I didn't know, but now I know I'm terrible. Thank you for telling me so much, doctor. But it is, the ear infection has got to
I
be
know.
the one thing that is like, you just feel absolutely terrible about it because you know it causes pain and stuff, right?
Yes, and you feel like just so guilty because you're like, oh yeah, I totally knew. Like, and the worst part is that you think I'm ahead of this, I got this, and then like double ear infection, throat's inflamed, stomach swollen, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know all that.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that's why I always say, I'm like, you're the doctor, you tell me. Like,
Do you guys feel guilty like sometimes like you can't go to sleep? Like I don't know, when my kids are sick, I can't sleep. I'm always checking on them constantly at night. They're like passed out and I'm like hovering over them with Vicks, a thermometer and an ice pack, and I'm just like, are you guys
They look up and they're asleep. They open one eye and they see this creepy person standing over them.
and you like checking, like, is their chest going up and down? They okay? You hear the coughing.
surprisingly my wife's out. She's passed out. She's sleeping.
remember that?
You know?
Seriously, no, it's funny because I'm like your wife. I'm usually the one passed out. My wife's like, oh my God, how can you sleep right now? But that you just said it. Holy moly, does that bring me back? Yeah. Do you remember those moments where you're looking in the baby monitor and you're just like you're staring and you're like, is her chest going up and down?
Yeah.
And then you go in there with like your phone light and you're just like trying to be all sneaky, like you trying to like not to be like the floor creak, and then somehow like in those moments you somehow miss and you step on every part of the floor that creaks, and then like you're just trying to like make sure that they're breathing. You're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, and then you're just like stop moving because you're like in that scene with Jurassic Park where the T-Rex is like their vision is based on movement, and you're just like.
Or the child like turns and stares at you, and you're like, "Oh, hi." I'm gonna go now.
The best is when they come into your bedroom in the middle of the night, and they're all like,
they just
they're
stare
holding
over you?
like their teddy bear, and their hair is a mess, and they're like,
oh, and it's like Children of the Corn, and they're just like staring at you.
They're like, I don't feel good, and you're like, oh my, you're like, oh,
I love the voice
you're like,
too.
hey, you're like, oh no, come, Rosita, come inside, come to the bed.
All right. Well, according to the Cleveland Clinic, what is the reason? When should you keep the kids home? Because this is crazy.
Michael Hyde, I'm glad you asked these questions. So like in reading this amazing article, it talked about like like when your kid is definitely like has like 100.4 like degrees temperature, you definitely need to keep them home at sometimes because they're just not feeling great. You know what I mean? Like they're working on something and the body's fighting something. It might be good to keep them home.
That's the moment where like because daycare is always 100.4 is a cutoff.
Yep. So
you sit there in the morning and you're like 99.6.
You're like,
and you look at your spouse. You're like, what's it going to be? And then you're just like, what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? But you're right. Like, that's it. There's a number for a reason.
Yeah, you send them.
Or 38 degrees Celsius, right? That's the, outside of the States.
Oh, so fancy. And obviously if your kid is vomiting, it's like if it's repeated or if something's happening, you got to keep like the vomiting and the diarrhea, like if they're having the little dual thing going on, just keep on that Bratz diet, like the bananas, the rice, the apple, and toast. Keep it simple,
So 24 hours at home, right? Just to kind of make sure everything's good, right? No fever, 24 hours.
Right, because they're most contagious at that point in time, And then, like, obviously, like, when they have, like, the coughs and the colds, and, like, it's impacting, like, them, like, when they cough and they're sneezing and they're just... You guys all know, and all the parents out there know, when you look at your kid and they have like coughs and sniffles and they're fine, you can send them in. If they cough and sniffles and they're like keeping their head down, they can hardly get up, they say their head hurts, keep them home. That's a day to say, let's snuggle up in bed, watch some Maury, who's the father, and stuff like that,
Because like you said before, like your experience with strep, obviously, like you can obviously look with your iPhone, flashlight and look for white spots, or you could, if their eyes are pink and yucky, that's obviously two indicators that need to get to the doctor's stat. But everything else is really kind of a guessing game, right? Like you really have to go by the numbers and you have to kind of go by what you're seeing.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned, like how are they acting? Like is this typical of them? Like if I know Juju has 100 fever and he's bouncing around, he's sick, but he's not that sick, and he'll get over eventually. But if he's not moving and he's kind of like, oh my God, Mom, help me, then I know he's sick. Like he needs to like.
Yeah.
I keep him home with a fever, even though he's bouncing around. But if it's a fever and he's not like as like energetic, then I know this is a 2-day thing, at the very least,
Well,
yeah, it comes down to basically you know your children best, right? I think that's like ultimately, don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. You know how your child acts, how they are every day. And if something's up, they're acting different, you know your child best. So,
and maybe we don't know our children best sometimes, but we know that you do. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments for us, or topics, an idea, pairing story, or a fail that you've experienced, you can contact us here at the show. Maybe even tell us about an upcoming birthday for your kiddo, and we might even say happy birthday. So there's a few different ways you can get a hold of us here. That was a mouthful of no words. There's a few different ways you can get a hold of us here at Hey Other Parents. One, you can leave a message in our Hey Other Parents voicemail at 559-375-KIDS. That's 559-537-5437. Or 559-LAY-KIDS if you're feeling fancy and French and you want to do it that way.
Oui, oui.
2, email the show. Oui, oui. Email the show at heyotherparents@gmail.com. A little tip, keep it short, keep it weird, and we will likely read it on the show. We may not get to all of them right away, but if there's a topic that fits your email, we'll hold on to it when the time comes. And 3, you can join us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, at Hey Other Parents. We'll try to keep you up to date with show info, polls, and more. If you have questionable parenting moments, please take a picture, and if it's appropriate, we might just include it in our feed.
And we're back for our time to unplug. Don't forget, we're a better we if you take care of me. So, gentlemen, I just want to let you know, like, there is such an importance of those random dinner dates. I know it's so, like, Instagram and TikTok, like, always date your wife or your husband or your spouse. But you know what? It really is, like, so important because we had a parent-teacher conference, and to kind of take the edge off of the parent-teacher conference, and trust me, my second oldest is a very good student, but still sometimes, it caused a little tension. I think it was nice. Like, I was like, hey, let's go out to have dinner at our favorite restaurant, and took the edge off. It made an evening that we already had planned to have babysitting or to we're going to be alone, to be fun. And I think it's really important to take those moments, any moment that you get, and do something like special. It doesn't have to be a dinner. It could be a quick pumpkin picking between you two, or getting something to the house or something like that. But I think random dates is always important. Keep things fresh.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, your unplug is very similar to mine this week. I went on a dinner date this past week with my wife, and we got one grandparent to watch half our kids and the other grandparents to watch the other half. So we had the whole night to ourselves, and it was funny because we always say when we do have a date or a date night that we're going to go out and we're going to do something, and then it's like after we drop off the kids and we're like about to get ready, we look at each other and we're like, do you really want to go out? And we kind of just wind up crashing. But, my wife was like, no, Mike, this is it. We are doing this. We are going out. And I'm so happy that she did, because we wound up going to this cool Mexican restaurant. We were drinking tequila,
Yeah, good time.
We were having a good time, and we were having some nachos, and it was just really fun. And I'm glad that we made the push to go out, because you should definitely make that push.
So my husband and I, we follow this guy, Gary Chapman. He makes this book called The 5 Love Languages. And I know it was a big thing. We kind of knew him before it became this big thing on TikTok and Instagram. But again, it's always talking about keeping things lively. It's knowing your spouse, what do they need in terms of quality time, acts of services, words of affirmation, etc. So I think it's good to do stuff like that. Make sure they're kind of you're listening to them, your spouse,
You know what was nice? I actually was thinking about, I think we were talking about it this past week, and my wife and I actually went on a date, and we went to a restaurant that we don't normally go to. And I think that was kind of a nice thing. We didn't just go to the same typical places that we always go to. We went to somewhere new, and we made a point to just have a fun place, not just be this is a place that looks like a date place. It was a fun place. This place called Bar Grazie, whatever. It was a fun place, hanging out. Asked for some high top tables. When you go, especially with kids, you're used to eating at 300 miles per hour.
Yep.
So we're all right, this is what we're gonna do. Yeah. We're gonna get a couple glasses of wine. We're going to order an appetizer. We're going to tell them we don't want to order our meal yet. We want to just enjoy the appetizer. Then we're going to put in the order. Nothing's coming out together. We're going to do this all in stages. This is how we're going to do this. And we actually had a moment to hang out and laugh a little bit. And it was fun. It was nice. So I took some of your advice, in prior conversations. And I think that's amazing. And I love this love language book. I think I'm going to have to check this out because I think everybody's a little bit different, and I think I have to figure out which our love languages are, even though we've been together for this time.
Yeah, you know what? But the idea is
man.
that like this love language thing. One, I don't take anything like set in stone. I'm sorry. Like I like the novel, and it's great in terms of like giving you like a roadmap. But nothing's ever set in stone. So even the idea is that like this like love language thing is that, you know, maybe like a year ago or 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, things were different. Now your love language might be something different, you know, like because we're evolving as humans. So, you know, what might have worked 5 years ago may not work now. So I think it's good to keep things fresh, you know?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because I tried to bring it back, like to have that nostalgia factor. Like, yeah, things may not work like they used to, or, you know, the things that you would have done, I guess, when you guys were dating. But it is kind of cool to bring back some of those things because I actually made a playlist. So every time we go out out on a date night, I play like our playlist, which is like songs from when we were like 16 or 17.
Wow,
18,
Mike's awesome mixtape number 4.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so are you reading the same book I'm reading?
Try it out.
Because Gene and I, we definitely did that. Like one time, he and I, we went back to like different places where we first met, our first kiss, our first date. You know, like like back in the day, like the Seaford movie theater with the like $5 ticket sales and Friendlies when they had the appetizer, the dinner and dessert. Like I think one day we did a whole date based around that kind of stuff.
No way.
Music.
That's
it
awesome.
was so sweet. It was so like. I've also been dating Gene since I was a junior in high school. So, you know, it's been a long time. You know, but
me too.
But even as
not Gene, but my wife.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Jane Gene? I mean, we have to talk later.
What's his love language, Mike?
Yeah, what is his love language with you?
I know he likes wine.
But couples who met older, like later on in life, you know, like in your 20s, your 30s, whatever, it still matters to do all that stuff. You don't need to have this long history. You just can have this moment in time where you met each other and gone on these dates. And I think it might be nice. I'm just, you know, just a blanket statement. That's all.
All right. So this week, it's funny because do you remember across the Spider-Verse movies, Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I saw this movie with Jacob years ago, and we first was in the movie theaters, and we happened to meet some kids at some gymnastics. So he ended up taking this class, and some boys in his class were going to this movie, and I'm like, I don't know, he's kind of young. I'm not sure if this is too scary for him. So anyway, whatever. We went, and it was awesome. So Into the Spider-Verse, amazing movie, story about a different Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and his kind of origin story, and it was a cartoon. And at the time, it was like, well, what is this exactly? Is this like a real Marvel movie? Is it a cartoon, whatever else? And it turned out to be just amazing. The way that they kind of make it is it kind of lends itself towards the style, almost like is very similar to a comic book. And it's really, really thoughtful. The music's killer. The movie's excellent. So the second movie came out, and I brought the kids to see it. Mike, we went together. I saw you guys at the theaters. We went actually opening day, and I know, Sarah, you weren't available, but we ended up going, and we ended up. It was one theater that didn't have like reserved tickets, like you could just go early and like get there early, and then you're in line. So we got there like really early, we ended up going in first to get into this theater. We had great seats. We loved it, and then ended up being on TV, and I put it on, and my wife, who is like, she's kind of like become more into Marvel as of late. But what I love about this movie is, besides that, it's just so freaking cool. Is it's like almost like a great movie series. It's probably good to see the first one for like non-Marvel fans or people that aren't like super into comic books. So like if you're not really like into Marvel movies, but you're like, oh, who doesn't like Spider-Man? These movies are so well thought out and so well done. The music's great. The story's great. And what's nice is, and you don't see this a whole lot, is that in this movie, the second movie, Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, it's a female character. She's really you could probably argue that she's the main character in the movie, and she's a great character. And I think my wife kind of enjoyed it, so we watched it together. The kids got to get to see a rewatch of it, but I would say without a doubt, these movies are ones to take a peek at. I know they're cartoons, but I will tell you, they are so
Oh, no, they're really good.
They're so good.
They are really good.
I love them.
They are very good.
Yeah, man.
I didn't see the second one. I saw the first one. It was excellent.
Oh, it is. I don't
Yeah.
want to give anything away, but it is a mind trip, man. When you get to the second movie, like your brain tells you, there's so many Easter eggs too, but your brain, like, you're so convinced that you know what's going on. Like, you're like, I got it all figured out. And then it gets to the point you're like, nope, I don't have it all figured out. And it's so well done the way they do it.
It's through Sony, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was Sony. And what's really cool about that movie is like that was the first movie that me and Lucas like saw by ourselves, like the first movie. So the second movie we wound up going with Mike, and he loves it. And I think there's like a sequel coming out to that second movie. I guess there's like a third version, right?
Yeah, I think it's either it's like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing. I think it's like
that's cool.
Beyond the Spider-Verse. Is that it? Is it Into the Spider-Verse, Across the
yeah.
Spider-Verse, and I think Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
we can't wait to see that.
Yeah, it's so good.
I have to watch it. I think Gene and Julie went to go see it by themselves. I was left out.
You know what? Next time,
Dad's on date.
you watch the second one, you're coming with us. It's happening. It's on.
Yes. We'll do a
Because-
family date. We have to do it.
You know what? The little flip action. Oh, so good. It's on. It's on.
Oh,
We're
okay.
happening.
Good times.
All right. I think we're out of time for this episode, so we're going to wrap this one up for Homesick with the Kiddos. We'd like to take a special moment to thank our listeners and tip jar supporters for donating to the show. If you want to help support the show and to allow us to keep making episodes like this, we do have a tip jar set up using Stripe listed in our show notes. Members will get an access to a bonus episode each month. And if you have time, we greatly appreciate you leaving us reviews on the Apple Podcast app. Search for the show, scroll down to the bottom, find ratings, reviews, and write something up with some 5 stars, and we would greatly appreciate it. It helps more people find our show. We can't wait to explore this parenting thing again next week with you on Hey Other Parents, because it's the 3 of us and all of you. Don't forget to hug your kids and charge your Chromebooks. That's going to do it for me, for Sara, and for Mike. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, The Parents is produced by Mike Levine, Sara Desrevians, and me, Michael Height. I edit and mix our show. Our intro voice recording was done by the one and only Coltrane. If you like our show, we hope you'll consider going to our show notes and supporting us through our Stripe tip jar and considering becoming a member. Doing so supports us and gives you access to an exclusive Hey Other Parents episode each month. Find us online on Instagram at Hey The Parents and on Twitter, or send us an email at heyotherparents@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.